What's going on, guys? So we are back for all new Venom issue 7, which now brings us to the face-off between Anti-Venom and all new Venom. And as much as I would like to say that I called this in the last issue, there's one more thing that happens that just has me like, oh, I didn't see that coming. So let's get into it. But first, if you're enjoying these videos, be sure to drop a like, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and don't forget to hit that bell up top to get all notifications. Alright, so coming back, the first thing we do is pick up with Ripcord from Scar, which is the organization we've seen throughout the series who's been hunting down the different symbiotes after Venom War. But as it starts, she's talking to someone who's a shadowy figure, who I'm sure most people figured out pretty quickly. But as the two of them are watching this footage of all new Venom, the other person here says, he's changed, hasn't he? I instinctively call the creature him and not it, for one. Isn't that fascinating? And Ripcord tells them, don't get it twisted, Doc. It isn't it, and it always will be. A thing to be destroyed like all the rest of its filthy kind. And just after she says this, we find out from Ripcord that the whole messaging behind Scar, with it standing for symbiote containment and rendition, it's really just a front, because before, they presented themselves as this team that would capture symbiotes and lock them away, so that at some point later on they would just send them off planet to some other uninhabited world that they can make their own. But now we're finding out from Ripcord that she's ready to change the R in Scar from rendition to reprocessing. So instead of finding symbiotes another home, she wants to repurpose them and turn them into fuel that they can just burn in their trucks. And this person who she's talking to, they're very interested, with energy sources being one of their passions. So with Ripcord bringing up the idea of the power of a symbiote in the palm of your gas tank, that has this mysterious person, who she only refers to as Doc, asking, what's to stop you from doing this now? Because really, Ripcord had been waiting for the green light from some contacts in Washington, so she's expecting to get the okay, but that could take either weeks or years. But nonetheless, this Doc tells her, however she goes about it, it'll likely be best that they start with Venom, who she's already had this Doc analyzing up to this point. But he points out here, after being gone for so long, only to come back and analyze Venom, he's noticing that the symbiote has altered itself, because he says here it quips, it thwips. It shows an almost human level of imagination, exuberance, joie de vivre, to use the French. For whatever reason, it's acting more and more like him. So I'll consider this a practice run before I battle my true enemy again. If your Washington contacts are everything you say they are, our little arrangement should prove most fruitful. And now this is where Ripcord says, I'll keep my end of the bargain, Doc. Just don't let Anti-Venom know about it. I have leverage with him, but he can't be trusted in the long term. And so the Doc tells her basically to have no fear of Flash Thompson learning anything. And you know, I'm not really sure if he meant for it to sound as disrespectful as it does, but he even goes on to say, I may not have all the knowledge I once did, but I know adult when I see one. So regardless, however you look at it, the Doc's not worried about Flash figuring out what Scar's really up to. So from here, the next thing we do is head over to Central Park, where Flash and MJ are meeting up, because in issue 6, when Flash overheard MJ's backstory about how she became the all-new Venom, this put the idea in Flash's mind like, okay, I already got Scar breathing down my neck about bringing in all new Venom, so as soon as he overheard that it was MJ, he figured they could work together in a way that also seemed like he was still going after Venom. And that's the main reason why they're meeting up now. But before they talk about this whole plan, MJ makes sure to tell Flash that she's happy he's still alive after everything. And Flash is just like, yeah, me too. Because towards the finale of King in Black, we saw Flash return from the dead. But this was only the case of his consciousness and his codex returning in one of Null's Grendels, which I was hoping would lead to something more, but we never quite got that. And to make it worse, at one point, Carnage even told Flash they got a lot in common. And I mean, this was right on the heels of Carnage killing the Venomverse, mind you, as well as the Null of an alternate universe. But nonetheless, going into Venom War, in Venom War issue 4, when Eddie used Flash's Anti-Venom, Eddie used his power as the King in Black to transfer Flash's soul into a brand new human body. And ever since, Flash has been human again, with his body basically being the same way that it was when he died, which to him feels much like a do-over. And with him explaining this to MJ, he tells her like, you know, well, I hear you had a bit of a do-over yourself. So right away, MJ calls him out for listening from outside her window in the first place, like a creepy creep, because that's how Flash found out she was Venom. So MJ's like, nah, we ain't finna brush over that. So she asked Flash, why was he spying on her? But for him, it wasn't so much the case of him spying on MJ, but rather Flash was spying on Venom. And they both just so happened to be two in the same. And when MJ hears this, she forgives Flash. But then Venom takes the wheel for a moment, just before telling Flash, but I don't think it's cool. We're meant to be friends, Flash. So Flash apologizes and he lets Venom know, had Flash known Venom was somewhere with a phone number, he'd have called. Just before going on to say, for what it's worth, I'm pretty sure we both want the same thing right now. When MJ called me about her taking Dylan Brock in, that was your idea, right? And that's where Venom's like, I wanted him in a loving home, a safe home. But if he knows too much, he won't be safe. It's become very complicated. I miss when things were simpler, Flash. I miss the old days, old friends. I miss you. And I gotta say, I wasn't expecting to hear this from Venom, because it's very much a remember the good old days kind of thing to say. And it even catches Flash off guard, because he's like, things were never that simple, pal. But I hear you. Life's a little tangled right now. It's natural to wonder about the past. Like, was there a different choice I could have made somewhere along the way? Was there someone who could have helped me find it? Maybe something great was waiting, if I'd just noticed it was there. If the right stars had aligned, then maybe. And just like that, MJ's back. And she's like, you say something, Flash? Because she didn't catch any of it. But even that brief exchange between Flash and Venom, it kind of makes you think like, man, now that Flash is human again, is there a chance of him going back to being Agent Venom? Could the two of them head into space and catch up with the Guardians? As of right now, it's hard to say. But when MJ comes back, Flash is just like, let's change the subject. And he tells her that Scar needs him to bring in Venom, or else his deal to protect Dylan is off. And that's where MJ points out, like, well, if she gets arrested, then Dylan's gonna get thrown in a juvenile detention center, or he's gonna be back on the street. So right there, MJ asks Flash, what do we do? And Flash tells her that they gotta get sneaky. And so it's right here when we go back to Dylan and Paul. It's kind of funny how their situation plays out alongside of MJ and Flash. Because right now, with Dylan getting ready to head out, Paul stops him and he's like, hey, wait a minute, you're supposed to be grounded. So Dylan just tells him here, and he's still calling Paul Top Knot, which is hilarious. But Dylan basically tells him here like, oh, if I was grounded, then I'd have to sneak out that rickety fire escape again, which he tried to keep Dylan from using by putting a lock on it, only for Dylan to be like, oh no, window lock. How will I ever crack that with 8 seconds in a paperclip? But when Dylan tells Paul that he's heading to the Bugle to do a bit of a stakeout for a few hours, you know, to basically see if Venom will show up. And Paul is like, oh, the Bugle? Sure, that's fine. And it surprises Dylan that Paul agreed to this so easily. But of course, with Paul agreeing to this, he tells Dylan that he's coming too. But the main reason why Paul's agreeing is because he knows that MJ is the all-new Venom. So he's almost certain that nothing's gonna happen. So he tells Dylan like, yeah, I'm gonna go with you, and there's a nice burger place across the street. You know, we could grab a bite, watch the entrance. And it just has Dylan like, okay, yeah, this is weird. And he even tells Paul like, you think it's a dead end. So Paul's just like, don't ask what I think about all this, Dylan. I might feel ethically obligated to tell you. Which right there is basically Paul saying, I know the truth, I can't tell you, and I don't want to lie. So right there, Dylan's like, oh please, like you could tell me anything I don't know, Paul. And Paul just plays along like, right, of course not. So on their way, Dylan catches up Paul to what he's found in his investigation, which more recently for Dylan has narrowed the suspects down to Robbie Robertson or Rick Jones. And speaking of the two, next we head over to the Daily Bugle, where Robbie's telling Rick no more Venom stories. And we know this is mainly because Robbie figured out that it was MJ, and after they had a talk, he told her the Bugle was going to fall back, but Rick doesn't know about that. So to Rick, not only does it sound like Robbie's Venom, but it also sounds like he's trying to cover his tracks. And on top of that, you also have the situation of Rick having the story on Madam Web before anyone else, only to have the Daily Globe put it out first, which is mainly because of what happened in the all-new Venom issues 4 and 5, when we found out that the sleeper symbiote was using Rick, so Rick would blank out and become the sleeper agent, which are the details that Robbie doesn't know anything about. But because this happened and there's these moments where Rick doesn't remember anything, Robbie tells Rick that his hotshot reporting could be put to better use. But when Rick pushes back, this leads to a conversation where Robbie's asking Rick if he's having memory lapses often. And it causes Rick to get a bit uncomfortable, so he tells Robbie he's going to step outside and get some air, only for Robbie to follow him and say, I know you have a history of, well, gamma episodes. And it's right there where Rick is like, gamma episodes? Call it by its name, Robbie. You're worried I'm hulking out. Well, don't, okay? I test for excess gamma every day without fail, sometimes in the middle of the night too, because I wake up screaming. I have dreams where I'm the Abomination, or a two-headed gestalt creature, or I'm dead in hell, lower than hell. Those aren't even nightmares, Robbie. They're memories. And with hearing that, we know the Abomination, the Gestalt creature, as well as the memories of Rick being dead and in a place lower than hell, these are things that played out during Immortal Hulk as well as Gamma Flight. And I have those links down in the description for anyone who needs to re-up on Nightmare Fuel. But even now, these events are still messing with Rick, in addition to other things that he's dealing with. So Robbie tries to apologize for more or less coming off as insensitive, but Rick just tells him here, I'm not angry with you, man. I'm scared. I'm freaking out. Why do you think I've been making jokes this whole time? The gamma test is negative, always. I know I'm not having Hulk outs, but I dissociate, I lose time. I find myself in places not knowing how I got there. All the symptoms. Why do you think I've been so keen to solve this mystery? To disprove the obvious answer? Because I know I'm Venom, Robbie, and I don't even know I know it. So Robbie just tells Rick here like, I think we should get lunch. Cause poor Rick's going out of his mind. But as they head out, keep in mind Dylan and Paul are right across the street. grabbing a bite of the Quickie Burger, which has been in Marvel Comics since forever. But while they're here, and Paul is thinking this is going to pan out to be nothing. But while they're here, Robbie and Rick just walk outside. So immediately Dylan jumps out of his seat, because he still thinks one of these two guys is Venom, so he rushes outside to follow them, only for all new Venom to come crashing down in front of everyone. So as you can imagine, Rick Jones is looking at this like, how could that be? While Dylan's looking at this like, okay, well it can't be Rick or Robbie. And then last and most certainly least, you have Paul, who's looking like, oh no, this actually wasn't the dead end, only for this to be followed up with Flash diving in with a kick. And when this happens, since Paul knows that all new Venom is MJ, he screams no, and that has Dylan looking at Paul like, what? Why do you care? And it's just really confusing for everyone here watching, for different reasons, even though it's obvious to us that this whole thing's being staged. Cause next Flash, he really tries to sell it, cause he's like, everybody keep back, this is Scar business, symbiote containment and rendition, just before asking all new Venom, anything to say to the folks at home before I web you up and cart you away, big fella. And that just gets things started up again, with all new Venom sweeping the leg, just before turning that foot into a hand and webbing Flash's hand to the ground. And it's pretty comical with not only these guys putting on a show, but also you got Paul who's watching here and he's emotionally invested in the worst way. Cause when he sees Flash webbed up, he's thinking like, okay, yeah, all new MJ can get away. Like he's really the kind of guy who yells at the screen. But part of Flash and MJ selling it here, Flash is like, damn, I'm webbed. I can't get free. And that's where all new Venom's like, you can't. I mean, right, that's my special recipe webbing. You can't anti-venom your way out of that. And this is where another voice comes in from the side saying he doesn't have to. We can take it from here, as they see Ripcord arriving with the other Scar agents. But before this continues, we jump back to earlier that morning, where Flash and MJ were planning this fake fight. But even with doing so, we don't really run through the entire plan. All we really see is Flash trying to sell MJ on the idea, since he knows how much Anti-Venom and Venom can take from each other, and how if they pull this off in front of the Bugle, it'll get the attention they need. But this whole time, MJ is just like, I don't know. Like, she's not convinced that this is gonna work. And Flash just tells her like, come on MJ, you're a professional actress. You are the best thing in Lobster Man Strikes Back. Like, what was that? The sequel to Attack of the Cheddar Bay Biscuits? Like, what's going on? But she lets him know that she had 3 takes to get her scene right. But in this case, she's only gonna get 1. But going back to the action that's taking place in the present moment, it's here where we see Ripcord telling Flash that they stepped in because it looked like he was having trouble. And that's where Ripcord just tells Slice to cut Flash out of the webbing. And again, while this is happening, Paul's looking at all new Venom like, why don't you run away? Which again has him looking crazy because Dylan doesn't know why he's so invested. And in Rick's case, when he sees the whole Scar team here, along with Anti-Venom, he's like, it's time. And he leaves Robbie here. And I mean, we'll talk more about what's going on with Rick in a moment. But in the meantime, Heater takes a shot at all new Venom, which immediately has Flash concerned. So right away he tells the others like, no, I mean, there's too many civilians. Only for them to tell Flash short-range weaponry is entirely within protocol for civilian areas, Thompson. You know that. It is the civilians you're concerned about, right? Not the enemy? Because I don't think the federal government can honor any deals with a symbiote sympathizer. And that's where Flash is like, all right, you heard the lady Venom. It's time for the gloves to come off. And all new Venom is just like way ahead of you, just before they rush in and impale Flash, which now has things looking like, man, either the acting got real good real fast, or things just got real. Either way, we're not going to get that answer until the next issue. But something tells me, I got a feeling that this is still part of the plan. And MJ was like, no, we got to really sell it. Because I could imagine her bringing some Hollywood experience to the whole show here. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. But right after this, the next thing we do is head over to Rick Jones, who's now made his way to North Brother Island as the sleeper agent. Because it was basically his cue once he saw the Scar team and Flash over in Manhattan going after all new Venom. Because once he saw that, he just blacked out again because the sleeper symbiote is using him to break out himself and Toxin. Where in the case of the Toxin symbiote, like we saw before, but he's not in the best shape. But when Sleeper goes to tell Toxin what's going on, Toxin is surprised that Sleeper is even awake. Because ever since the end of Venom War, Sleeper's been using Rick Jones remotely while appearing to be asleep. But right here, Sleeper goes on to say, turns out most of Scar's budget goes into tech to keep us contained. North Brother Island has an on-site staff of 7. 4 of those 7, Flash and the Symbiote Squad, are currently trying to capture Venom in Manhattan. What's left is a skeleton security team, so there's never been a better time for a jailbreak. But as soon as Sleeper says this, a tentacle grabs a sleeper agent, as a voice says, a bold plan, my young friend. But you've made a miscalculation. North Brother Island may have an official staff of 7, but unofficially, if I can show off my Italian for a moment, the number is 8. Because this whole time, the mysterious doctor lurking in the shadows with a pudgy silhouette and 4 extra arms, It was Otto Octavius this whole time. But I will say I like how he did the play on his name, with it being 8 people who work at the facility. So much for the jailbreak. But yeah, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to drop a like and let me know in the comments if you think all new Venom and Flash are still putting on a show. And so now real quick, I want to give a special shout out to all the patrons. Thank you guys for all of your support. And for anyone who's new here, who wants more information on how to support the channel, I got a link below where you can go to patreon.com/dopespill. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and we'll do it again on the next one. Alright, later.